Let's go.
Welcome everybody to the Gfinity Spring Masters in 2015. On call with me is Red, and well, we're going to bring you the coverage of our first two games today. Terran versus Zerg. I'm pretty excited about those. How about you?
Yeah, that's my favorite matchup by far in this game actually, and it's going to be a really nice match, the first one. It's going to be Bunny against Hydra, live from the Gfinity Arena, first time here. It looks awesome. So for me, it's super exciting to have this match here between my teammate and probably the strongest Zerg in Europe and North America right now as well.
I'm actually pretty excited to see especially Bunny here. The last time that we were at Gfinity at G3 and last year, Bunny of course won the whole thing, and it was pretty incredible back then that he was able to take down so many of the Korean Zerg players. And that was kind of the matchup that he was getting really famous for, that every Zerg player out there had a huge problem taking him down. And now in his first game at the Spring Masters here, he has to go up against Hydra.
Yeah, he's playing against the Zerg, and last year is totally different from this year because recently Bunny has talked a lot about how Zerg is a really tough matchup for him, and he's been having a lot of trouble. But he also said to me that he thinks Hydra is a doable opponent, so I think he feels he can probably take this one. But Hydra is so strong, like on the European ladder, there's a lot of barcodes, but I know who Hydra is, and he's got an 80% win rate. And no one else, not even Snoot, comes close to that. He's more like 60%. So this guy is totally insane. He's been in the root house now for, I think, maybe close to 6 months. He's playing in WCS. He had some close games with Moro actually, but he made it through, and so is Bunny. So this could actually be like a final for WCS. Wouldn't really be weird at all. And we have it here now as the opening match. So this should definitely be sick.
And of course, this is also the only Zerg player that Bunny has in his group. He's in a group with Rain and Fantasy. So we have 16 players in total at the tournament here, and we have 4 groups with 4 players. So for Bunny, this is the only Zerg that he really has to go up against. And of course, it would be a great start for him if he's able to take somebody like Hydra out before he goes up against the likes of Rain and Fantasy then later on in the weekend. What do you think, like, in regards to the preparation for the group here? For him, it's really not all that easy. He has to play every single matchup once, so a bit of a disadvantage for him, probably.
Yeah, I think he's probably just been playing a lot of ladder where you get every matchup. I don't think he can really prepare for one opponent because, like you said, he has to play every single race, which makes things very difficult. At the same time, though, as a Starcraft player, you always try to be in shape against everything, because you could play against anything at a tournament. So it doesn't really matter this much. I don't think he's especially prepared for Hydra. Maybe he's got a couple of nice builds he thought about before the match, like what can I do against this guy? Maybe he watched some VODs of the players, like how do they like to play. I think Hydra is a pretty standard Zerg player. I don't think he has too many weaknesses, so it'd be really hard for Bunny to think of a build like, yeah, this is definitely going to beat Hydra. I think this matchup is going to come down to both players just playing a really solid, good macro game, and whoever multitasks the best and whoever does well, doesn't make mistakes, is probably going to get the victory here.
How do you think is it going to affect Bunny, considering that he's the champion right now? Is he a player that is actually under pressure?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually, because he won the tournament last year against a few Koreans. He beat Hyun, and he beat MMA, and he also beat Snoot, so it was a really nice victory for him. But if you compare it to this Gfinity, this is absolutely insane. There are like 12 Koreans, and they're all super high level. I mean, it looks like half of a GSL or something. A lot of guys from Kespa. There's Rain here, Fantasy, Jaedong, Hart. There's so many great players, Saktri. So it's going to be really way more difficult even than the last one, which was the last big win for a foreigner in a tournament. So it was so impressive. But yeah, he is the defending champion, so who knows? Maybe England is like special place for him. He brings out some special powers. I hope so, because he's going to need it.
Yeah, you were talking about a few of the Koreans that are here. Parting, of course, amongst others, is also here, and they were talking earlier a bit that for them, apparently, the flight was quite brutal. Parting said that he was apparently flying for like 24 hours, had apparently a big layover in Dubai, and just arrived in London earlier. So the Koreans, at least some of them, maybe had even a bit of a disadvantage still, considering that they have like a pretty exhausting flight compared to the Europeans. It's actually like the most relaxing thing for me, a 1-hour flight. I'm not really used to that. That's the upside of being in Europe again, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, I had some trouble actually 4 hours of delay. So for me, it wasn't that easy this time. But normally, it's pretty good in Europe. Like if you're a European player, like going to DreamHack and then going to Gfinity is super cool because no jet lag. And these Koreans, these poor Koreans, they're just so tired. They sometimes you see them sleeping in between the games and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Hydra is from America, so
Yep.
I don't know. I think he was already here yesterday. I think he was doing some tourist sightings on Twitter and stuff. So.
Yep. Actually, quite a lot of the players were able to get like in a bit earlier than that. But yeah, so some of the Koreans definitely going to be a bit tired going into their first matches, but that's of course not for all of them. And Hydra, as you already mentioned, I think he treated quite a lot of things. And it's actually funny that a lot of the Koreans try to at least stay a day longer or come in a day earlier so that they get to see some of the sites. And it's pretty cool.
I think it's actually smart. You go so many places, but you don't just see a computer screen. You got to make the most of it. So,
I was in Paris. I think there were like 4 events starting in Warcraft 3, and then just like 3 years later, that was the first time that I actually saw the Eiffel Tower. Because back then, Iron Squid kind of forced us to at least see some of the sites and brought all of the Koreans with them as well, so that they had a good time. But yeah, that's usually the problem that you have. You only spend so much time at the venue, and by now the Koreans actually just saying like, okay, when we're in Europe, we actually want to see something as well, which is pretty smart actually.
Yeah, and are we going to go into the game?
I think we're having the maps up in just a second. I heard earlier that we have our...
okay.
There's the maps. Okay, Catalina going to be our second map, if I'm not mistaken. As far as I know, Deadwing was the first map that is going to be started here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Deadwing first map, Catalina second, and then Secret Spring as the last map. This is kind of a crazy map pool, I have to say. Because normally Secret Spring and Catalina are definitely maps you don't really want to play against Terran. At least I don't want to play them against Terran, and I know other Zerg players don't like them. But it looks like actually Vani and Inferno were probably vetoed by Hydra, which because Bunny definitely hates Expedition and Overgrowth. I know he does. So that's interesting because Vani I think it's normally a pretty nice map. It's a pretty balanced macro map. The Terra Natural is very far behind. So interesting vetoes, and I wonder if he has any special plans for Secret Spring or Catalina. I guess Catalina it's a little bit tricky at the beginning because the third base is so far away. But it's also kind of difficult against Terran. But the first map, Deadwing, that one's usually really good, especially if you get cross positions. Then it's a really, really far distance and really good for Zerg macro against Terran. So Hydra are probably hoping for cross there. But overall, I'm really curious what we're going to see on these maps because you're not used to seeing them being used in tournaments all that often.
Yeah, and I mean, Bunny, as you already said, like he has a couple of preferences that he actually came into the draws here. And with the big map starting things off, I mean, that's for both of the players, very dependent on the starting positions. And of course, in that best of 3 series, if you get, I guess if you build up the momentum with a win on the first map, then on the tournament, when you're going into the group, you can really achieve quite a lot here. And the important thing is, of course, to know that these are the first games for both of the players. So this is the first game of the tournament. They play the rest of the group then tomorrow. And I guess we're going to head into our first map here between Hydra and Bunny on Deadwing. Or at least I thought so.
Looks like we're just going to look at us for a little bit longer. Which is fine.
Okay, I mean, either way, next map should start in just a few seconds. This is, of course, a best of 3 series, and we're going to see at least 2 maps right now. Bunny is the current champion of Gfinity, and so he will have to prove once again that he's able to take down Zerg players here. And we're going to find out in game number 1 that just started here, if he can start with a quick victory here. Starting up to the top left of the map, we are having Hydra in blue, our Zerg player here. Starting off the only Zerg player actually in the group that Vani is playing here, the Gfinity Masters. And all the way down to the bottom left is the Terran player for Team Liquid. It is Bunny.
And as we can see right away, it's not cross position. It's actually a vertical position. So this is really, really nice for Bunny. The difference being that the difference between the third bases is much closer. So these positions are really, really nice for just fast pushes like 3 base and then Marine, Medevac, Marauder, Widowmine pushes. And I don't think on this map we're going to see anything special. It might be Reaper or it might be CC first. We'll have to see. Nothing like 2 racks on this map or proxy Reapers or anything crazy probably in the beginning.
Considering the maps that we've seen so far, I mean, we have Catalina and Secret Spring, the potential 2 additional maps that we could see now. Which is the one where you say, okay, if there is a map that where Bunny prepared something particular, something like very aggressive against Hydra, this is going to be the one.
I actually think out of any of these maps, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy. Catalina is such a nice map as well for just standard Reaper play that it's unlikely. And Secret Springs is so good against Zerg because the third base is so far. So I think we're not going to see any double racks, bunker rushes or anything. But looks like Bunny will go for the CC first here. So he's already saying, you know, I'm going to just play a big economy macro game against you, Hydra. I'm not scared of you.
Hydra actually gets a scout off on the first position, so sent the Overlord straight counterclockwise and is now able to get the information about where exactly Bunny spawns a bit faster than the Terran player himself. Of course, it depends a bit on if he can hide the Overlord here. Hydra so far going straight into gas and pool after an expansion first. Not playing it too greedy here.
Getting that gas first, pretty nice if Bunny would go for a Reaper, because then you can chase it away that much faster. It's a little bit interesting against CC first, because that speed on the Zerglings, it doesn't really do that much for you in the beginning of the game. So it's kind of a useless upgrade, I guess, unless you want to be really aggressive. So we'll have to see if the Overlord sees the barracks, if he wants to change his mind, what he's going to do with his gas.
Yeah, and the Overlord is actually getting in just now, so he's going to see very soon that Bunny actually starts at the bottom left. Could adjust his build a bit, and of course he needs also to make sure that the Overlord isn't spotted. Yeah, and moves away right away.
And just by seeing that barracks timing, he knows it's a CC first. So now he has to make the decision. He could go for a couple of things. He could just get the link speed and play a normal game. He could go for a big 2-base roach push with like 10, 12 roaches. Usually kills a lot of SCVs, so it's pretty strong. And he could also do something crazy, like go for Overlord speed and then just scout everything that's going on.
Or go tier those down and just drop them again. Like a couple of the matches that we actually saw at the last Gfinity tournament were pretty insane. Like especially from the Zerg perspective, we had some really fancy strategies, just kind of trying to play a couple of strategies that work once, where you can really try to surprise an opponent. We saw TLO do a couple of things back then on Catalina in particular, but right now we're having Hydra at this point going for speed indeed. Double Queen also in production, and the Zerglings already on the way to the bottom left, trying to maybe snipe an SCV there, and of course getting the additional scouting information in, but Bunny already reacting with Bunker at the front.
Yeah, these 4 lings are probably just anti-Reaper lings. He's not going to be able to get anything done, which is a bit of a shame. Another thing he could be doing with these Zerglings is breaking down the rocks, because what we see a lot on this map is actually Terrans going for a tank drop behind the rocks at the natural or at the third base of the base next to your third. And that's actually really annoying. And I know Bunny has done that before, but look at Bunny. He's not putting down a third CC. In fact, he's putting down 2 additional barracks and the gas. So looks like he wants to put on some pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the double gas now coming in here already has his factory done too. We have for Hydra so far not really a lot of scouting information there. He has an Overlord down at the bottom of the map in position for the scout. Another one is coming in from the right. And we're having him also with quite a lot of Zerglings now, still Hydra at least, that is still trying to find out what's happening at the front, just poking there a bit. And with the speed, he actually gets in and should maybe be able to... well, he doesn't get into the main base, it's still blocked off, but he might be able to get at least an SCV out there.
He got 1 SCV, now he's chasing down the Marines, but will he get a Marine kill? Actually, it looks like he will, and he will get the second SCV, so this is real, and he's still going up the ramp, so these things were very nice. He does see the factory, and he sees a barracks with a tech lab. Normally, when you're Zerg, you see a tech lab, you think like, okay, this could still be 3 CCs, so he didn't really get the important scout that he needed to identify this. So if he doesn't find out about this soon, this could hit really hard, especially because they're so close positions. And there's going to be a lot of Marines with those 2 reactors that Bunny is making.
And he also doesn't have another Overlord in the vicinity of the main base now. He has only one to the left side of the map that's a bit farther away. So even if the Terran player would go for something like a Viking, it wouldn't be an immediate kill. But right now, that also means that he doesn't have a second Overlord that could go into the main base up from the top and see those 2 barracks. So Hydra has no idea what's going on at this point.
Right, and he's also going for a really quick lair and a spine, which definitely means he wants to play a 2-base Spire build. And Mutas are not exactly good at going against Marines toe-to-toe. So he's going to definitely want to drop a Baneling Nest very soon. If he drops the Baneling Nest, he does have 3 Queens at the front, getting his creep threat going. They're by no means like this is a really bad build for Hydra, but it's a little worrying right now. I really want him to see what's going on soon. Because Bunny is getting everything he needs. He's getting the Starport, he's getting the +1, he's getting everything except the 3rd CC, and there's a Spire coming in from Hydra.
Yeah, and we're having the 3rd base for him nearly done yet, and at this point it's really like we need at some point to really see that if Hydra is getting the scouting information on it. I mean, he has to wonder at some point, okay, what's going on here? He has Overlords at the 3rd base at the potential, he has another one still down at the bottom, and there's nothing coming, there's no drop or anything coming in, and here comes now the Overseer, and he's trying to get that scouting information, and now he will find out what's happening here. That Marine's just not enough to deny the scout.
Yeah, and we should him see immediately drop a Baneling Nest upon scouting this. Really nice timing with the Overseer. He's also going to be able to drop some creep on Bunny's 3rd base, and there's the Baneling Nest. And other than that, his drone count is looking really nice. 55 workers on 3 bases. He hasn't really hit any supply box, so everything is going really well for him. It's just the next 2 minutes of this game are going to decide everything.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Hellions already at the front. Bunny is now starting to move out, has the Marines with him at this point. The stim upgrade is just going to finish in a few seconds. +1 is on the way, and we have the first few medevacs also just heading over up to the top right, already using the afterburners here. So Bunny is trying to get in position for this, and Hydra knows what's coming. He's building that Baneling nest. He has the first few Mutalisks in production as well. Can put some pressure on those medevacs that they try to move in. But there's Bunny already, sniping the first screen, going straight for the second. And there's only one Spire. The Queen doesn't have the energy for another transfuse. The Zerglings are rushing in, but he doesn't have any Banelings with this just yet, but he might just have enough Zerglings to push the Terran player back here.
He had a huge amount of Zerglings, like so many, not and a single Baneling. What a decision to want to engage against that with just Zerglings, but it seems to be enough. And Bunny's Hellions are now dead, and there's only Marines left and 2 medevacs, and the Mutas are already out. So actually, Hydra is totally crushing this attack and is now in a massive, massive lead.
Do you think that this was only just a matter of numbers, or do you think that at this point Bunny, with maybe a bit of better micro on the Hellions and trying to shield them with the Marines, could have achieved more?
Yeah, I felt like the Hellions were a little bit too much at the front there. Like the Lynx got a lot of surface area on the Hellions. And right now, this is actually Hydra is pushing Bunny all the way back to his base, killing a lot more units. And Bunny is in so much trouble right now. There is actually a siege tank. But did Bunny ever even make a third command center? Or is he still on two? No. He's still on 2 base with 5 barracks. So he's fully committed to this kind of all-in 2 base play. But Hydra on 3 base, 64 workers, has the mutas for the map control. This is looking so brilliant for him.
As you already said earlier, the couple of minutes that we saw that attack just decided so much already, and at this point Bunny is far behind. His attack got slapped in the face, and even with him just denying the scouting information to Hydra the entire time, it didn't matter. The Zerg player had everything that he needed, and with the Zerglings he was able to crush that ground army, and now suddenly it is the Zerg player who is taking the initiative on the map, spreading his creep, having the Mutalisks in position to intercept any kind of drop play, and on the ground there's still a huge amount of Zerglings that he can use.
Yeah, playing Zerg in this stage of the game is so much fun, Calder. I can tell you that. He can do whatever he wants. He can just be happy, spread his creep. He can get the Overlord speed, start spreading his Overlords everywhere, just see everything, and it's just like he feels like, come at me, bro. Like, what are you gonna do? You're on 2 base, and I have everything I need to stop you. He's gonna have the 1-1 against 1-1. The only scary thing, I guess, it could be a couple of tanks to get sick Baneling hits, then he could be in trouble. But he does still have a huge army as well.
If you're in a position like this as a Zerg player, what exactly is the risk that you run? Where does it get a bit dicey? Where could you maybe be a bit too overconfident and make the wrong decision? So what has Hydra to really pay attention to now?
Well, I think the major things are probably engagements off creep could be very, very dangerous. And right now he's attacking a lot with his mutas, actually, which if he pays too much attention to that, that could also be troublesome. But he's already going back, and there's already so much creep on the middle of the map. Like normally behind the 3rd base on this map is a really nice place to attack because it's that low ground, high ground mechanic. But how is Bunny even going to get there? He's going to have to pass through so much creep to get there. And now there's 9 Banelings being morphed, but he could morph so many more. He has so many already. Oh my god! Like how is Bunny ever going to kill this army?
I mean, Bunny is now out on the map with his entire army. We're talking 120 supply against 150. There's no 3rd base for the Terran player just yet. He's trying to deny the creep, but here comes the Zerg player. Hydra moving in from every single angle, trying to connect with the Banelings, take down most of the Marines already. The siege tank's gone. The Mutalist immediately sniping the tanks and also the medevacs. And GG as Hydra takes game number 1 of Bunny.
What a dominating victory for Hydra. And at the end there, the tanks were right at the front. The Marines, the Lynx got straight on top of them. Hydra came in from 2 sides. And when you do a strategy like Bunny did in that game, it really all depends on how that attack is going to go. I mean, you sacrifice so much just for that 1 punch, and it really didn't do anything at all. Like, that was a totally perfect defense. He didn't even waste any gas on Baneling, so he could make so many mutas directly after. So, like, it couldn't possibly go any better for Hydra, and he really showed that he knows how to deal with that build. And I think Bunny is going to have to do something totally different, but at the same time, that was the map where you're like, if I'm looking at all the maps, this is probably the most Zerg favorite map. So if I'm going to take any losses, it's okay to do it on Deadwing. Maybe that's why he chose to go for that build as well.
When Hydra defended against the first attack that we saw from Bunny there, we saw him moving in with all of those Zerglings immediately. And do you think that this was something where he said, okay, I have to go, I cannot wait for the Banelings? Because we saw that Baneling nest started as soon as he realized what was going on. But Bunny also took that as the immediate move to go out. He's all like, all right, he knows what's coming. He's going to prepare for it right now. I have to attack now or never. Do you think that Hydra just got a bit lucky there? Do you think that it was really a choice where he said, like, I don't even need the Banelings. I have everything that I need. I'm going to crush this right now.
I don't think it was luck, because he could have made the Banelings, right? So he had the nest. So it was a decision. Like, he saw it so early. He wasn't supply blocked at all. His injects were perfect. So he was able to make, like, what, 50, 60 lings, like, out of nowhere, because he droned so heavily before. So I think it was just perfect decision-making for him. Like, I would have probably morphed Banelings. Like, when you play against 2-Rex Reactor like that, or 3-Rex Reactor, you're like, okay, I need Banelings. Like, that's why I said on the cast, like, he needs a Baneling nest. But no, you don't. Not if you're Hydra and you do everything else perfectly, then you're just going to crush it anyways. And so smart by him, so smart.
So if Bunny in this situation, we've been talking a little bit about how he could have maybe done more with a proper position on a better position on the Hellions.
Right.
If he trades evenly there, do you think that the game is still a match where he can come back, or is the fact that he doesn't have a third command center at this point in time just way too much to deal with?
I think trading evenly is probably not good. You need to kill those Zerglings, and then you need to kill some drones, and you need to have a presence there so you can keep reinforcing and stuff. Because if the Zerg is 1 minute, you just spread creep and recover his economy, everything is a really hard fight, right? So he has to. What happened kind of was there was so much creep there. Like, Hydra came so fast down with all the links, but the Hellions could have moved like across the ramp maybe, like backwards, and then the Marines in front, and then with some really, really nice Hellion shots, maybe he could have punished him for not having the Banelings, but it all happened so fast. It was a tough spot.
That's of course always one of the big deals that you want to have, why you want to have the creep spread there. We saw that in the last attack as well. He just got in position with all of those Banelings immediately, put the pressure on the tanks, forced the Marines back, which exposed the tanks as well. And we saw a very similar situation in the first fight, of course, where the Hellions kind of were in the same spot. The first map, therefore, ending in favor of Hydra, so he takes the lead in the best-of-3 series here, and will have to win a second map. As far as I know, Catalina was map number 2. I'm not quite sure if these are in order or not, but I guess we're going to find out in just a few seconds. What do you think is okay, they're actually in order, so we have Secret Spring first. Hydra, with that victory here, how do you think he's going to play it now in Secret Spring?
Well, this is such a scary map. The layout is so difficult. Like, the first Reaper shows up, and then as soon as the Hellions show up, you're completely blocked off from your third base. So I've tried playing this map myself. I've messed around a little bit with some Roach plays and stuff like that, but nothing really felt comfortable. But as said before the match, Hydra obviously doesn't feel like he needs to veto this map, so maybe he's going to teach all of us, like, hey, yeah, this is how you play Secret Springs, but at the same time, wouldn't be surprised to see an all-in on this map.
Well, we're going to find out right now if Bunny, who we see to the left side in blue right now, can jump back into that best-of-3 series and take a map of his opponent. We're currently looking at him being down 1 map in the series. To the right side of the map here in Secret Spring, we have a Hydra gaming player, and of course, with the 1-0 lead, he only needs 1 additional map to take the best-of-3 series, and therefore start with a victory into this group at the Gfinity Spring Masters. And let's see what the Zerg player is doing here. It's a tricky map for him to play, as Red already talked about, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of approach he has to that setup.
Indeed, and also what Bunny wants to do, because this is also a great map for proxies and things like that. And I can't see him go for CC first on this map. And let's see if he does drop that barrack. So this is going to be probably a pretty standard Reaper opening. I think I would really like Bunny to play 3CC on this map, just take it to a normal macro game. He already tried to do something kind of cheesy last game, and it didn't work out at all. So I'd love to see him play his strongest macro game here.
I mean, at this point, we're having him going for the gas. We're going to see that Reaper coming into play, and then not only scouting out, but of course also trying to do what Red already talked about between games, that he's just trying to cut the Zerg player off from his third base and limit his economy for as long as he can. And if Bunny then does that and goes into 3 base himself, he might be able to just like get that army advantage and that economy advantage that he can then pull into a second or into a first victory here. I would definitely love to see a third game between the two of them.
Yeah, and looks like actually Hydra going for the pull first, so he's already anticipating a Reaper opening for sure. Something you can do with this build is actually you can make a bunch of Zerglings and go around the Reaper and do a counterattack, which would be pretty cool, especially because Bunny didn't really wall in. He's going to make a reactor there, but it might be able to get cancelled by a bunch of Zerglings.
Yeah, I mean that run around with the Zerglings, we see some of the Zerg players even going for an earlier pull just because of that. We've already been talking earlier about, for example, Violet, who really loves to do that and start things off with a 12 pull so that he can put some pressure onto that CC that's being built by a Terran player quite often. In this case, could still do that. We have also the expansion, of course, started for Hydra as well, the natural that is. Reaper is going to be on the way. And at the same time, the first Queen is coming into play right now. How many Reapers should Bunny go for here right now? I mean, with the second one already building, what should be his approach?
I think you went for the 12 rack, so 2 Reapers would be standard. He could go for 3 just for the extra firepower. 3 Reapers are really, really good at taking out Queens. But I think it could really be anything. I think 3 Reapers is probably what I would prefer on a map like this, just because it's so hard to get out anyways, and like you just make it even harder. And for now, Bunny will try to look for 1 drone kill, but it's going to be hard to get one against someone like Hydra.
Yeah, and also, of course, with the positioning of the spawning pool, trying to limit the movements of the Reaper at least a bit. The Queen already working overtime here. Henny actually gets his kill on the drone. Very well done. Bunny with the first small victory against Hydra.
Right, very, very nice. That definitely makes you feel really, really good as a Terran player, just getting 1 drone. And Bunny being super annoying, actually splitting up his Reapers on both sides, making it even harder for Hydra to defend both mineral lines. Almost gets another drone there, and look at this, he's still in natural as well, trying to do damage with his Reaper, and Hydra has to already spend a lot of time microing his Queens in this game.
Yeah, Bunny does that really well. Of course, he plays with fire to a certain extent, needs to make sure that both of those Reapers survive, but he has really nice macro at this point, and the multitasking paying off. Occupying a lot of the time that Hydra has, Bunny going straight into that third base now, building that additional CC. And still the Reapers active at the top right, taking down a couple of Zerglings and just slowly and steadily whittling away from the unit count of his opponent.
Yeah, still getting kills here. Actually, you know, Hydra was getting the speed and he still has 3 on his gas, which is not something you normally see if Zerg goes for a normal build. So we have to see what he's going to follow up here. It could be Roaches, it could be a fast lair again. He's about to hit 100 gas, so let's see if he drops that lair. There we go. So this is probably going to be, once again, the 2-base Muta. As we saw in the previous game, this is actually a pretty good solution for this map, because when you go 2-base Muta, your 3rd base is late anyways. So you don't really need it that fast. And wow, these first 2 Hellions already in a bit of trouble. Hydra trying to get the surround, but Bunny's micro is good enough. But he does take a bit of damage on his Hellions, which is kind of annoying. Yeah,
the Reapers came in just in the last second here to really help out. That would, of course, been super annoying. If he loses the Hellions here, he loses a lot of the pressure, and also, of course, that option to contain the Zerg player. And with him now moving all of the units straight up to the top right, he can at least make sure that there's no 3rd base. But as you already said, like with Hydra now opting for that faster Spire, he doesn't really want to have that early 3rd base anyways. The thing is, like, how much damage do you really think he can do with now him going into Mutalisk right off the bat?
Probably quite a bit if Bunny doesn't see it, but Bunny actually, I don't think there's any Zerglings on the map. There's 8 being made, but Bunny doesn't really know about this, and now they're out. So Bunny, I feel like he might have been able to do something there with his Reapers and his Hellions, but he does opt for the safe thing and does pull back. And I don't think he even... Did he scout the lair?
I don't think he did, no. He didn't even... Yeah, there is... So he doesn't know about the lair, doesn't know about anything. But don't you think that at this point you should like assume that there's something like this happening, considering that there wasn't even an approach from Hydra to take that 3rd base?
Yeah, also on this map, I guess it is pretty common if you do play it against Zerg to play against 2-base Muta. And he is dropping the double eBay and he's getting the barracks. So this is one of the best openings you can have against 2-base Muta, because he has all the economy, he has the fast upgrades, which Zerg doesn't have with his build. And everything is looking great for Bunny, but it would be nice for him just to get that confirmation. He doesn't need those turrets in time or take critical damage.
When we're talking about the turrets now in general, I mean, we're talking about Hydra being on 2 bases, Bunny is trying to get his 3rd, of course, the command center is already there, he's getting the economy set up. How much should that commitment to turrets be once the Terran player really sees, all right, it is going to be a Mutalisk play? How much should he really start to invest?
I think you just start off building 2, but then in an ideal situation, you're always attacking, so there's never any time for the Mutas to go back to your base, so you don't build that many, and instead you invest into more production, more infrastructure, everything else. But that's only in a best case scenario. And it looks like with these Queens, with this creep spread, this creep spread is actually really good for this map. Like, Bunny shouldn't have let Hydra come out this much, honestly, on this map already. Like, it's looking pretty scary to the middle of the map, and the 3rd base is going down, and there's 6 Mutas on the way. So this is... Hydra's playing really, really well as well with this opening build.
He's starting to build definitely up quite some momentum here, and especially with the Queen count that he currently has, he's putting the creep tumors out super fast, and as the map is not really the biggest map in the pool, you can really see that spread towards the middle already. So this is definitely tricky for Bunny now, who already lost a few of his Reapers and also Hellions, and with the Mutalisks now on the map, there's very little that he can do about that. Has Marines now though, but oh, he's gonna lose another set of Hellions here. He's gonna lose probably all 3 of them.
Luckily, there are some Marines over there. I do think this was probably the first time he saw the Mutas. And I don't know if he has turrets, but it looks like Hydra is just going to take that defensive posture. Ah, he does have some turrets, which is good. And Hydra now just trying to be annoying in the middle of it. If he gets those rocks, that could split up Bunny's army. That could actually be really annoying, but he does have medevac, so he could pull back. But Bunny now trying to push forward. These mutas are still being so annoying in the back, actually. Hydra scrambling to get out more Zerglings. I do think he has a Baneling Nest. He doesn't have Baneling Speed, I believe. And this push is looking scary without Banelings. I think Hydra proved last game how good he was. He doesn't need these Banelings, but this is so many Marines.
Yeah, the Marines are there, but there's also a lot of Zerglings coming to play right now. He takes down a few of the Mutalisks, but the Marine count just is not enough to deal with the ground army there. And especially the Mutalisks did a great job of isolating a few of the reinforcements earlier and taking those down. So that was definitely a problem that Bunny had to deal with there as well. The push was good, but there were just too many Zerglings, and they spawned at the perfect time for Hydra. I mean, that was not a coincidence. He really just waited for that and got all that lava in, and the Zergling is just, that was perfect timing for them for the defense of the third here.
That was so efficient, and all those Marines were already a little bit low HP as well, thanks to the Mutalisks. And then the rocks also got broken down, so the reinforcements weren't there. And it was only one medevac, because one medevac already died. So Hydra, once again, with a perfect cleanup. His first mistake right now is a little bit of a supply block, but other than that, he's looking fabulous. There's no pressure on him right now. Normally in this stage of the game, Terran keeps attacking you. He can creep spread a little more. He's getting his Baneling speed, and he's getting his 1-1. And Bunny is just now getting his 2-2, so even the upgrades are not that far behind. The only thing that Hydra could do a little bit better right now is probably put on some counter harass, but he doesn't really need to. Just he's keeping up in supply, and that's always good for Zerg.
We're having also with an additional base towards the right side, he's getting a macro hatch at the same time, so he's really trying to just get that map control. He already has a very, very good creep spread, even though Bunny was trying to limit that and take down a few of the tumors. He's approaching the whole bubble now from the right side, trying to burst through those rocks here, but the Zergling is already in position to see exactly where Bunny is positioned. So Hydra with just a very, very good grasp of what's happening on the map.
Yeah, and Hydra finally decides to get some Banelings. Only 7 of them, though, so it's not too many. His muta count is looking healthy. Once again, he's trying to go to the back of the army, trying to catch reinforcements, which is really, really nice. But Bunny this time, not really falling for it, but he is falling back a little bit. He doesn't want to push just yet. Looks like he's going to go for a bit of a safer approach. He doesn't want to get crushed once again in a big attack. Oh! Huge Widowmine shot there. Lost a lot of Zerglings.
Yeah, really nice shot with the Widowmine. And well, we have, of course, Bunny. One of the reasons why he also didn't attack was that combat shield wasn't ready, but that is completed by now. We have 2-2 for both of them started, so they are both on 1-1 upgrades. And the Terran player starting to move in once again with a quick scan, making sure that he sees the creep tumors here and forces the creep back. But Hydra is positioned, just waiting for an opportunity to move in with his Banelings.
Yeah, and actually right here, the creep is not that good. So if Bunny just waits a little bit, he's going to have a really nice position with the low high ground mechanic as well behind the third base. So this is actually also the supply. Bunny is macroing so well, really powering up. And look how many Marines he has right now. This is a really, really scary Widowmine field.
Especially the army value is so much better for Bunny right now. He has a huge amount of supply there, and Hydra is very much pressured here. I mean, he's getting more and more Banelings and trying to set them into good position, but Bunny is playing this very patient, forcing the creep back, just moving forward with those Widow Mines. Doesn't get the shot off, though. The Overseer in the army is helping out with that, and here comes the engagement. A lot of the Banelings already down, didn't take too many Marines with them, and the Mutalisks did just get a bloody nose, moving straight into that minefield that Bunny already set up.
Yeah, that was a great first fight for Bunny, but there are constantly so many Zerglings in production as well. Hydra really on top of his macro, and now a Thor is here as well, so it becomes that much harder to pick off Widowmines. So with the Mutas, this is such a tense situation. Whenever Hydra does decide to charge in, everything is going to be decided by the Widowmines, by how well Bunny splits, and we'll just have to wait until Hydra feels like he is ready to go.
Yeah, and the Thor actually getting a first good shots in. We don't see, look at the minimap alone with all the Terran army moving up to the top left. The reinforcements are going to be there in just a second, but here come the Zerglings once again on the ground, trying to move in together with the Banelings. That's so many Banelings right now, but he's splitting and trying to just isolate them as much as he can. The Thor's already down, taking a few Mutalisks with him, but the Zerglings are everywhere, and all those medevacs trying to just keep them alive a bit longer, but Bunny's dropping in supply down to 126. Hydra is taking the supply lead here, has to move back once again though, but his third base is still alive. We have him on 4 bases now still. Do you think that maybe Bunny could have afforded to just send one medevac to the right side and put a bit of pressure onto that satellite base, or would that just limit his forces too much?
That's what I was thinking as well that he could do, but Hydra does have vision, and that was actually a really, really close fight. They both lost equally as much, and once again, Hydra going in, huge Widowmine hit on the Zerglings, but looks like there will just be enough Ling Muta Bane to clean this up, and if you break it once, it's really hard for Bunny to take the position back, but he's just constantly got reinforcements showing up as well. Medivacs are dying though, and if the Medivacs die, the push just becomes that much weaker.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening here. I mean, that attempted rescue on that Thor was just amazing, and he did a really good job with that, taking down a few additional Mutalisks, but it was just not enough. The Mutalisks were able to hunt down those Medivacs, and with him losing the air superiority, he's now, of course, in a pretty bad spot there. Still at 142 supply and still trying to apply pressure. We have both of them now on 2-2 upgrades, but we have so much momentum now going also for Hydra with the defense. He's just pushing him back over and over again, and by now he even uses the Mutalist to put on some counter aggression.
You know you're in trouble as a Terran when Zerg feels so comfortable to do this, but at the same time, it's not that many mutas. This is still a really, really close game. The supplies are practically even. Bunny's macro is really good. There's just constant reinforcements, and it's just going to keep going like this. We're going to see constant pushes and then constantly Hydra trying to break it, and whoever slips up once, one bad fight and this could be over immediately.
And Hydra is actually falling behind in supply again. He's trying to get the Baneling count up once more. Finally, the Mutalisks are back for the defense, and they were actually missing for a long time. So he was trying to put on the counter pressure and trying to put Bunny in a spot where he had to defend. Never really happened though, and with the Mutalisks at the bottom of the map, he couldn't use them for the defense up at the top, and lost a few drones because of it. But Hydra still in a decent spot here. Very, very close game between the two of them right now.
Oh, he's losing a few mutas right here. This is not what he can do. He just got up to 15, which is finally enough where he can pick up a few things, but now he has to go back again with a few less mutas, and Bunny has so much presence here in the top left of the map. The only thing really missing is the Thor, and so many Widow Mines as well. The creep is gone, but at the same time, if Bunny doesn't put actual pressure on the mining, Hydra can just keep making many, many units. And once again, he's going in with everything.
Baneling's moving straight in, and the Zerglings trying to put the Marines with the back to the wall. And we have the Mutalisks trying to go for the Medivacs once again to just limit the sustainability of that push. But Bunny's taking a lot of those units out. He's on 3-3 upgrades against 2-2. The Thor is a bit too late to the party to put real pressure on the Mutalisks. If he would just arrive like 10 seconds earlier, that would have been a completely different fight. But Bunny still has forces up here. He didn't lose his Medivacs, he didn't lose all of the Marines, and he's moving in against that third base, and that Thor alone putting so much pressure on those Mutalisks. Bunny maybe even breaking through here.
Yeah, all the mutas are falling, and that's definitely not what you want as a Zerg player, and the Thor is still alive. Looks like Bunny finally finds some room to make a final push onto Hydra's base, and Hydra used his entire resupply round just to fight off the reinforcements, and it's not looking good at all. There's only one muta left, 0 mutas left on the map.
Oh, that Thor.
That micro.
Yeah, the second Thor finally coming in, but that Thor, oh my god, like he barely kept him alive, but that was totally worth it. And Bunny now with the pressure against that base, the minimap alone already telling the tale, and there's the GG as Bunny takes game number 2 and equalizes the series here. Really well played.
Really, really nice macro game from Bunny, and we saw some crazy intense battles. Everything, the whole game basically took place at that top left base. Hydra scrambling to defend, and Bunny just pushing with 7, 8, 9 barracks, just constant reinforcements coming across the map. And I think Hydra really wanted to crush one battle and not just barely push him back.
It kind of felt the entire time, especially at the beginning when we saw those attacks happening from Bunny, that every single time what happened for him just came a bit too late. That Thor arriving at the first battle, just a tiny bit too late to really put enough pressure on the Mutalisks that they couldn't take down the Medivacs. When he had the first attack coming, suddenly the Rock's taken out by Hydra, where you just like thought, okay, if he would have gotten a few more units in, maybe he could have pushed that through. And when then Hydra moved in with all of those Banelings, for just a second, it really looked like Bunny was already done. He was able to just like completely crush that army, but Bunny never let up the pressure and was able to build that up again. And that save on that Thor like 5 times in the last fight, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that actually made a big difference against the mutas. Like, it's so difficult. That Thor just has 20 HP, but one big shot in the middle of the mutas and like a lot of them die. And also, yeah, Bunny just really great macro. You really saw the 3-3 kicking in there at the end, and his splits were also phenomenal. Hydra, I'm not sure, he just never got up to like 20, you want like 20, 25 mutas, and you can really go around the back of the reinforcements and do some serious damage. Like, if you can force Terran back just once in those kind of situations, it's really good, but he just never could. Like, Bunny's macro didn't slip, and he just kept having so many units there. So really, really nice play from him. And also, we saw that the map, it's a pretty good map because the rocks in the middle are broken. So there's not a lot of Zergling run-bys, counterattacks you can do, which you can on a map like Catalina, which is the last map. So Bunny's going to probably have to step it up even more on this one.
We've been talking about that attack with the muralist that we saw after Hydra at the beginning was able to defend here. Do you think that if he does not try and go for that base, but keeps the forces up at the third, just waits a bit longer until he's really 100% certain that there's no more pressure coming, do you think he's in a better position there? Was that maybe a bit of a mistake, or do you think that was just a risk that was worth taking?
I think it's more like a feeling you have, like if I stay here and I just keep fighting this Terran Mulehammer fueled production, it's just going to get harder and harder for me. So I have to do something back. Like, that's how you feel. But he only had like 9-10 mutas. You can't really do that much. So I could kind of see the desperation from Hydra in that move. Like, it was never really going to work. But at the same time, just staying back would have been really hard, but it might have been a little bit better in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, when he really builds up the muralist count, he might have been able to really hammer that reinforcement line that we saw there. Bunny kept that floor up the entire time. It was just this parade push up to the top left, and he did that really well. He lost a lot of medevacs in the mid game there, but he was able to pull through, and that brought him a ticket for map number 3 that we see right now, Catalina, with Bunny all the way up to the top right in red for Team Liquid. Taking game number 2 of his Zerg opponent. Starting to the bottom right, we have Hydra, victorious on the first map of the day on Deadwing. And let's find out if he can take it with the 2-1 here on Catalina of Bunny. Our foreigner here is going to be able to pull through.
And the first thing I can say about the spawning positions, they are actually pretty bad for Hydra here, because the Terran base is located in such a way that it's right to the back of Hydra's base, and there's so much space for Reapers to jump up. So if Bunny does decide to go for an 11 racks 3 Reaper opening on this map, it could prove to be a lot of trouble for Hydra, especially because he's shown that he likes to go for gas into pool, which is really late links, and we do see the 11 barracks, so probably going to be heavy Reaper pressure, and Bunny already showed nice micro last game. Let's see what he can do with these favorable positions.
It's actually really true in the last game, especially when we saw those 2 Reapers in the main base, not only taking down a drone, but putting the pressure up against the Zerglings, always like bouncing between the natural and the main base, and really occupying Hydra. And you've been talking about that a bit. That, of course, takes a lot of the attention that the Zerg player wants to put into his build, and especially, of course, his micromanagement with drones and his macro with the bases that he wants to build up. It takes a lot away from that. And Bunny really doing a decent job with that. Later on, then Hydra excelling, especially in building up that pressure on the map, moving out on the from the second base, getting that third. So that early mid game, he really sets up everything to have a great start into the rest of the match here. On this map, this is maybe going to be a bit more tricky for him, especially with the aggression that we're going to see from Bunny. But I'm really excited to see Bunny's Reaper micro here once more.
We do see the pull first, actually, from Hydra, so he's already taking precautions against what is most common on this map. Really smart by him. So he's going to have an early queen, and this time he does make 2 Zerglings, not more than that. So that's not too much counter pressure. Like if you see 6, that's really scary, but 2 might be a little bit annoying, not going to do too much. His gas is a little bit later because of that, though. So his speed is going to be a little bit later. So he'll be safer in the beginning, but when it gets up to 3 Reapers, he might be in trouble. His queens are going to die really fast against 3 Reapers.
Yeah, well, and once again, guys, this is, of course, a 4-player group. We have Fantasy and also Rain in the same group. So for Bunny, it's the only game that he has to play with Terran versus Zerg matchup. Hydra, on the other hand, has to go up against Fantasy then tomorrow. The Reaper, by now, already arriving on the map, so putting some pressure onto the drones. But this time, he doesn't get that early kill. Hydra just a bit too fast for that. But the Reaper still circling around. And, of course, not only trying to get the scouting information here, but maybe also going for that drone once more with a bit of a different angle.
And Bunny actually sending this Reaper down the south and then to the west of his base. So the Overlord didn't spot it. So I wonder if he did that on purpose. But these 2 Zerglings being very annoying right now, trying to get that SCV. And that 3rd Reaper is not done in time, so the second one's going to come back, and that really takes a lot of angle out of the attack.
Really nicely, on the other hand. I mean, at the same time as we see those 2 Zerglings going for the SCV and trying to just delay that base for as long as they can, Hydra, of course, focuses a lot of his attention up to the top, and that causes him to slip up with his defense in the main base, where Bunny suddenly gets that kill against the drone. So the command center delayed, which is very annoying for Bunny, but at least he got a drone kill out of it.
Yeah, these guys are just being super annoying against each other. Seems like they really hate each other. They're just killing workers everywhere. But now we have 3 Reapers together, and this is when it gets scary. And wow, going straight for the drones. One more drone does go down without taking any too much damage on a Reaper. And he's looking to do a little bit more. It's going to be a wound. Oh, 1 Reaper is getting solo. No, you can't lose it, Bunny.
Wow, moving back into both of the queens, took one of the Reapers down here, and well, that kind of makes it not worth it for him anymore. You sacrifice a lot of gas in a situation like this. He dove pretty deep with that first kill against the drone already, and the Zerglings were just barely not able to close the gap there and trap them. But then he loses the Reaper now. How much does that really impact his strategy? He can't really apply that much pressure anymore, can he?
Yeah, it's really too bad, because with the Hellions, the 3 Reapers really make a huge impact against Queens, against Zerglings, and now only 2 left. At the same time, Hydra has an Overlord over the base, so he sees exactly what's going on. It is 3 CC, so it is heavy macro, but Hydra right now has to feel pretty good. He's going to be able to just drone up quite heavily, do whatever he wants. He does decide to go for that fast lair once again, so he seems to really like this 2-base Spire play. But a little bit unfortunate for Bunny losing that Reaper, and also his Hellions right now are searching for the Zerglings, as you can see on the minimap as well, but they didn't find them. So it's going to be dangerous very soon when Hydra does decide to run those in. If he gets lucky and the Hellions are just leaving, Bunny could take a lot of damage.
How do you think Bunny should play it from here on out?
Well, with his build, I think the only thing he can do is just like the same as last game, now wait for the double medics. But here come the Zerglings. Actually, there are 2 Aliens waiting, and Bunny has to do a little bit of micro, but doesn't take any damage really, so that's good. But as you asked, what can he do? Well, he's going to have the double medevac timing, which is basically his next big attack. Until then, oh no, looks like he's building an armory actually. So this could be very surprising, and Hydra already shown he doesn't like to get a Baneling Nest. And if Bunny just comes with like 8 Hellbats out of nowhere, that could be game ending actually.
Do you think this is actually a strategy that Bunny prepared for the map, or do you think that is something where he looked at the last 2 games and said, like, especially exactly what you just said, hey, he builds his Baneling Nest extremely late. If I go for the Hellbat timing here, he might not be ready for it.
I think he definitely is something he adapted from the series. But Hydra will see them coming, but this is like...
Too late.
If you see this, it's like, oh shit, what do I do now? Yeah, I spam Zerglings. But Zerglings are not that great against Hellbats.
He has nothing else. There's nothing that he can get. He's going for the Spire right now. He has a few queens.
4 queens, which is pretty nice. Like, we're going to have to see how good his micro is. Bunny does go for the 3rd base. But these queens are going to be able to kite quite a bit. I think it would have been better to go for the mineral line, but...
Yeah, the queen's already there, the Zerglings rushing in, a lot of them already getting toasted, and most of those Hellbats are gone, but they take the Zerglings with them. In supply, Hydra is taking a pretty significant lead, and most of those queens, all of the queens are still alive, taking down Hellbat after Hellbat. Also, the Reaper is gone, and Bunny loses every single unit here, and the only thing that he really took down are Zerglings, and is that really worth it?
No, I think that was a really good spot for Hydra to fight. I think it was really a bit of a shame that the Hellbats morphed right on the Overlord, because Hydra immediately pulled the Queen from his main, and then just had so much area where he could micro and so much creep outside on the base. So that really should have done a lot more. Now Bunny lost his Hellions, lost his map control, Hydra lost almost nothing. There's Zerglings at his wall. This is now a horrible situation for Bunny.
What would have been a good trade for Bunny in this situation?
I think if you morph Hellbats, you're sacrificing a lot, because normally those Hellions contain the creep. So you really are looking for like at least a few queen kills, all the Lings killed, and a few drone kills. Like if you get a lot of drone kills, that's really good, but or cancel the 3rd hatchery, but he got none of it.
So do you think you should have moved into the natural instead?
I think he should have rolled up a little closer with the Hellions and then surprised more. Okay, you don't have your queens right here. You just have Lings, like, and then Hydra would panic and he'd have to make decisions really fast, and it's more likely that he makes the wrong decision.
But now, of course, Hydra with the defense that he has now, just looking at the minimap, you can really see that he has an incredible creep spread already, and he is just making sure that that is not stopping here. Even creep spread already at the 3rd base. Now, of course, that he has an Overlord in position, trying to deny that, and we have Bunny sending a Furions over to deal with that problem. But there are already Zerglings and catching the entire army size there. Bunny in a horrible spot right now. He's being chased away. He's still on 2 bases. The Zerg player already mining on 3, and the Muralist alone already moving in here. We have an Overseer in the main base and taking down all of that Antia that the Charon player currently has. But he's actually losing all of the Muralists, isn't he?
He's lost 2 Mutas. Actually, that was a little bit too much. Like, the first move was great. Any units you kill now is awesome for Zerg, because you're not really meant to kill units right now. He's got creep on the 3rd base, so Bunny is still slowed down so much. So this is still a really good spot for Hydra, but yeah, he might have got a little bit overconfident there. He's on 74 workers. He's got a macro hedge going. He's going to take his 4th base soon. His creep is looking great. This is still a really good position for Hydra.
Bunny, of course, now trying to finally establish that third base. He has to send Marines over there once again to get rid of that Overlord, and he does that already. We're having it with Medivacs now in the game too, but those Mutilers are just trying to come in from a different angle, aiming for that natural this time. And Hydra is up at 125 supply already with his sick work account, going for the 1-1 upgrades, going for speed for the Overlord, getting the +1 attack upgrade for the Mutilers as well, and is trying to get at least a few of the SCVs that are currently mining gas.
Yeah, Hydra this game definitely building up way more mutas than he did last game. Also, he's not even under attack yet. There are 2 Medivacs out, but it's already 13:20 into the game. Normally, when you play a ZVT, you're like, okay, Terran's gonna have 2 Medivacs at around 11:30. That's when I'm gonna have to defend my 4th base. You know, that's your thought process. And in this game, none of that is happening. Widow mines are dying, Marines are being picked off, Bunny is having to defend everywhere. Hydra is just gonna be able to jump between bases as he likes. He's stacking a few mutas again, 2 more to go down, which is not that great, but he's doing so much damage for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, he took down 29 Marines already. He's constantly in the production of the Terran player, right in his face, taking down units. We have him also with those snipes against the SCVs. And during all that time, Hydra, of course, not being lazy here, spreading the creep even more, getting a really good vision on the map. We're having him with creep spread all the way to the left side now, which also protects his 4th base that he sets up now. He will see any push coming, has even a few Overlords at the border of the map, so that if there is a drop attempt, he will see that coming from a mile away. And he takes a huge supply lead too. Everything is set for victory here. We're having him with a 2-2. Bunny, of course, trying just to like turtle in on those 3 bases and playing it safe and sound. When do you think would be a time for Bunny to really go for a bit of counter-aggression? Can he even do that?
Well, it looks like Hydra just wants to be aggressive, and that attack didn't do nothing, so that's a win. But at the meantime, in the natural, Zerglings run by, the meters are being active. It looks like Hydra is attacking so much that Bunny might have a shot if he just defends, waits for 3-3, and then has one really nice engagement. Hydra has to be a little bit careful that he doesn't overdo the attacking, because it can go wrong really, really fast. But I think this is definitely a Korean Zerg that we're seeing playing. Look at the minimap, just creep is everywhere, there's activity everywhere. His mutas are not even resting for a second. He's constantly controlling them. He's putting so much hurt onto Bunny right now.
So with Hydra realizing that Bunny is, of course, playing it very safe right now. I mean, we've seen the 2 attacks against the natural. We saw that all going after the 3rd base. Bunny is trying to bounce between the 2 of them, trying to defend as well as he can, getting his upgrades out there. What do you think that Hydra should do in this situation right now? Should he take another base? Should he just like increase his tech, go for a hive, go for 3-3? Because Bunny started those upgrades already and he's a bit faster with them.
Yeah, those all sound like really good ideas. He should be doing everything just to advance himself in the game, but looks like he will now decide it's time. Bunny steps on the creep and immediately gets punished for it. A ton of Mutaling Bane runs in, and the supply is just dropping so fast for Bunny, and he's taking massive losses in this fight, and he might just get overrun right here, right now.
Baneling's moving in everywhere. Pretty nice and Widowmine hit there, but that's not gonna be enough. That's too little too late. Already the bunker going down over there at the 3rd base, and the Mutilers straight aiming for that natural mineral line. The GG dropped as Bunny just loses too much, and Hydra takes the series here with a 2-1 and starts with a victory into his group here, the Gfinity Spring Masters.
Yeah, great display of Korean ZVT. Even though he doesn't live in Korea anymore, he still got it. His injects were just fabulous. His macro was on point. His creep strat was on point. And if you're Hydra, those are some awesome games to start a tournament with. Like, let me just warm up a little bit and put the whole map on creep and just harass with my mutas everywhere, like show off my 300 APM. And that was a great game by him. A little disappointed by Bunny. I mean, things just didn't go the way that he wanted them to. You could see he was thinking in that series. He was trying to be clever with the Hellbats. It was a good idea. But when that does absolutely no damage, it's so hard to come back from that.
Not only the Hellbats, also the move on Deadwing that we saw there with the 2 bases where he just said, okay, I'm going to start with a big push here. He denied vision for a long time, but then when he finally moved out, that was just for the positioning that he had there. Hydra in such a great spot, and also with the preparation, I want to say, with his injects, never missing anything, having a couple of larvae available that he could use for Zerglings. And it just looked like in those games, Hydra had his number.
Yeah, he was ready for everything that Bunny was doing to him. And now this group is looking really, really tough for Bunny. There's 2 people left. It's Rain and Fantasy. It's not going to really get any easier for him. And Hydra off to a great start. And it looks like, you know, people always say, like, do you really need to train in Korea just to stay on top? But he's really proving that, you know, if you're Hydra, you can be anywhere in the world and you can still beat the best.
What do you think in terms of the matchups for Bunny now? We were talking about him saying that Zerg is pretty difficult for him to handle right now. He's now going up, of course, against very, very strong players, no doubt about that. I mean, we're talking Rain Fantasy here. But is maybe from a match perspective, the rest of the tournament or the rest of the group stage going to be a bit better for him?
I think he probably feels okay against Rain. He has been really strong against Protoss recently. But against the Korean Terrans, Bunny has a pretty bad track record. And I think it got in his head a little bit, at least last year. Maybe he can show the world now, like, I'm over it. Like, yeah, I can take Korean Terrans, no problem. But historically, it's always been really, really tough for him. So I think now this group is going to be pretty, pretty tough. But, you know, I hope that we see Bunny as long as possible. He is the defending champion, so it would be a real shame to lose him in the groups.
Yeah, I mean, the next games that we're going to see in that group are, of course, pretty intense anyways. I mean, the group is pretty stacked, as you already said. And we're going to get ready for our next game as well, which is going to be another Terran versus Zerg. We're actually going into the match between Jaedong and Hart, which is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's going to be a good one. Before that happens, we're going to jump into a short break, and then we'll be back with the Gfinity Spring Masters. So guys, stay tuned, and we'll be back in a few.